Hi everyone. I know I'm just a new booktuber, but I have been reading for a while, and I have been reading all of 2018 in fact, and I do have my favourite books of the year so far. I just started my channel too late to do that in that June-July period where everyone was doing it. But in my feed the other day, Bookily, she put up her top 5 books of the year so far, and it was late, and I thought if a fantastic booktuber like that can do it, then maybe I can sneak it in, because I really want to tell you about these books, and it's cool to have a bit of a record of what I think now and what I'll think in a few months at the end of the year after a few months more worth of books. So my first book that I love is The Life to Come by Michelle de Kretser. She's an Australian author who I had the pleasure of listening to at the Brisbane Writers Festival. This book is just shortlisted for so many awards and raved about. It was, when I finished it, I thought this book's way too clever for me. It just, the way that Michelle weaved together these stories. So it's kind of 3 interconnected stories, but they stand alone, set in Sydney, Paris and Sri Lanka. It's all about life. It's all about, the past and how that affects your future. It's about how individuals are reacting to the pressures that society are putting on them. It's just a really modern day commentary from 3 different perspectives, and I enjoyed it enormously. Her writing is clever. Her writing makes you think, and you get those moments of, that's where that fit in there, or there's one character who kind of plays a part in each of the stories, which ties it all together, but it's not central to the plot or anything like that. There's no major twist or all that sort of stuff. It's just a really well written story, and I adore it, so I would highly recommend this book. The next book is by another Australian author called Sophie Laguna, who I also had the pleasure of seeing. There's a bit of a theme here at the Brisbane Writers Festival, but this is a sad story about a little girl, Justine, who is just born into a family that's just not functional, and she lives with her pop. And it's a story about how she deals with all of those challenges that are thrown at her. She's lovely, and her pop is lovely, and it's a terribly sad, terribly beautiful book. Sophie Laguna is a Miles Franklin Award-winning author, and her writing is unreal. I would highly recommend picking it up. She's also written another book called The Eye of the Sheep, which I have on my shelf but haven't gotten to yet. But her writing again is unreal, and you will fly through this book. It's great, so I highly recommend that one. My next book is Birds, Art, Life, Death, and this is by Kaya McClear, and it's a non-fiction book about when Kaya decided to meet up with a musician who was recording bird sounds in New York, I think it is, and follows this musician around, and during that time the musician kind of unleashes these little gems of what he thinks life's about, and Kaya picks up on them and starts analysing them and applying them to her own life. It's also a commentary on about how nature is still there in the most urban of environments. I love nature literature, nature fiction. And yeah, I found this book just not this sort of spouting of beliefs, but more just about someone taking on board what somebody else is saying and applying it to their own world. It had so many gems in it. When I read this book, it had, note marks all down the side of it. I adore it. I think you will too. Please pick it up. I love it. Then we're back to Australian authors. Then we're back to Australian authors. That's my only non-Australian author in this pile. I might be biased, but honestly, they deserve it, yeah? So this is another nature story. It's another sort of memoir from the author. This is Understory by Inga Simpson. Inga lives around where I live around, so her references are very familiar to me in the story. But this is about trees, and it's about her moving to a rainforesty part of the Sunshine Coast here in Queensland, and sort of working with the environment around her to build a space for her and her partner to live in, and going through all the motions of, you know, wanting that natural environment but having to balance that with having to work, and also about a breakdown of a relationship, about how much work it takes to restore the environment around you and kind of submit to it and understand that it is greater than us, and we really need to work in with the natural habitat and the trees and the forest around us and not chop it down and fight it. She's a very passionate conservationist, and that comes through in this book. Each chapter, it's about a tree, about a type of tree, and then she goes on with a story relating to the tree. She doesn't tell us what a cedar is, but she works the trees into her memoirs. It's beautifully written. It's very compelling. It's not a boring tree book. Please don't think that. And I loved her writing, and I loved this book. So yeah, please pick that one up too. And then my most favourite book of the year is Flames by Robbie Arnott. Again, I saw him at the Brisbane Writers Festival, and it made me, I booked my session, and I'm so glad I did, because I would be so sad if I had missed reading this book. This is set in Tasmania. It is this really fable-like, really folklore-y tale that weaves through the Tasmanian landscape. And again, each chapter sort of is about an element. So there's grass, there's fire, there's wind, and it talks about this family at its core, who's very connected to the landscape and to the environment in really fable-y kind of ways. Fable-y, is that a word? I don't know. And about the death of these siblings, the death of their mother, and then how that leads them on, you know, their journey after that. It takes this, Levi loses his sister runs away, and so he tries to find her again, and woven through that is the story of these elements, the Tasmanian landscape, and this really folklore kind of tale. I said folklore twice. I don't even know if it's a word. Oh God, I'm really good at this reviewing stuff. When I met Robbie, I expected him to be this really spiritual dude, and he wasn't. He was this, white middle-class guy. But that made his writing even more amazing, because this book was compelling. I read it in one sitting. I absolutely love it, and I recommend it to everybody, and am recommending it to you right now. This is my favourite book that I have read so far this year. So please all go and buy a copy. That's it. So they're my top 5 favourite books of 2018 so far. Sorry if my reviewing is a little all over the place, but I will try and work on that. But I really just wanted to get across how much I love each of these books and to share them with you, just in case you haven't read them, because they are well worth your time. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me review books badly, and I hope that if you do pick up any of these books, or if you have read any of them and have your ideas on them, please comment below and we'll have a chat. I'd love that. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.